Great.
Good to see you guys. I'll let you guys fire away.
When, this time of year during camp, what's your job like as far as, especially when the injuries pop in, because you've had a couple of new additions with, Keyshawn, Matlack, Wiley today. What's kind of the process when you have those things pop up during camp?
Yeah, quickly, we're communicating with our pro department, just getting a quick list together of street free agents, maybe 3, 4, 5 guys that, we'll bring in for a workout, pretty quickly. Just get them on a plane, get them here, work them out, and hopefully sign one of them. So it's kind of a group effort, just identifying certain street free agents. It could be guys that just got cut, guys that, maybe been in the UFL. So there's certainly a process to kind of get those names together.
Mike, when you look at what you guys have at wide receiver, how do you balance just taking the best 6, 7 guys versus having diversity in that room, and maybe somebody offers something that somebody doesn't? Like, what is that conversation going to be like?
Yeah, I think typically, I think, the way I see it, I think in the past you kind of want to build it like almost like a basketball team a little bit, different skill sets, different type of players, which I think, we have a lot of talented, players in the room. There's a lot of really good competition. But I think you can balance speed, physicality, run after catch, special teams aspect. So you want to have a lot of diversity in the room in terms of skill sets. But the special team aspect is huge, especially for those depth guys.
I wonder if you could describe the process of watching the other preseason games for potential cuts later on that may be of interest.
Yeah, so our guys, from the first preseason, the Hall of Fame game, throughout the preseason, our pro department, they each have, a handful of teams that they're watching. They're probably watching 25, 30 guys per team, mostly younger players, maybe some young vets that they feel like maybe on the bubble that could potentially help, maybe our 53, but also, could be practice squad guys down the road. So they're tagging those guys in our system, and those are the guys that get funneled to, myself, Chris, Veach, Nutt, and Tim Terry, and then we'll get together, around the Bears game, and we'll meet for a couple of days and just, kind of condense that list. Maybe there's only 4 or 5 guys that legitimately we might, target.
Any thoughts on, I don't think we talked about because it was close draft, but as a whole, like the offensive tackle, just what have you seen from him so far, and what makes him intriguing at this point?
Yeah, he's a big kid, big strong kid that can play both tackle spots. Had a good all-star game, and he's certainly got physical traits. Now I think it's just being consistent and stacking days and eliminating the errors. But talented kid that he's fit in well with the room. There's a lot of really good competition there for depth spots there. We feel good about our depth especially in the second group. So he's got potential, but he's got to keep showing it.
You mentioned depth. Is there any particular area where you feel like that the depth is maybe deeper that you've gotten into training camp than maybe you expected?
Yeah, I think our D-line depth's a strength right now, and I think we've definitely gotten stronger. Really on both lines. I like our the additions we made on the offensive line, in addition to the defensive line. That's both free agency and the draft. I like our linebacker depth. As we talked about receivers. I think this is a year where there's going to be a lot of tough conversations. Multiple spots. It's not going to be easy for There's going to be players, unfortunately, that we released that our NFL players are going to be playing for other teams.
We just touched on offensive line, but just going into the offseason, big picture. You guys always emphasize defensive, offensive line, but this offseason, was the conversations like this seems to be the top priority, top of the list?
Yeah, I think so. And listen, it wasn't. I don't think it was just because of the Super Bowl. I think it was just that's just kind of how we want to build the roster. We want to infuse it with youth and talent. And fortunately, through free agency and the draft, we were able to do that. And feel good with it's a good blend of youth experience. I think guys with versatility. So really encouraged by what we've seen so far.
Last year you were pretty active at the end of the cut-down deadline, knowing that you're 31 on the waiver wire again this year. You've got some old friends that are pretty high on the waiver wire that might be familiar with your guys.
Yeah.
How much 3D chess is going in there as far as, if you want somebody off the waiver wire, you maybe have to go make a trade?
Yeah, and that's that's just the reality of it. It's a good problem to have. It means you've done pretty well that you're far down on the claim. But yeah, right now we're talking to every team in the league. Our myself, all our contacts. We're just gathering information now. So whether that would mean potentially trading for a guy, doing a play-for-player swap, maybe maybe there could be a guy that you think might be available to claim. Yeah, we're going to be active. I mean, we're gonna watch as much tape as possible. We're gonna, and maybe it just doesn't work out, but we're gonna identify certain players that we think could help us now down the road, and we'll see where it goes.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.